That's fine. I'll just respond to questions and move the agenda along. It was simply if you preferred one.
Okay. If we have questions, then you're the answer man, at least so far. Okay. With that, with no public comment offered on the action items, we'll move to the consent agenda.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda item 13-102, which is to approve the minutes of the August 12, 2013 regular meeting, approve the check register dated August 23, 2013, to approve the check register dated August 30, 2013, to approve the check register dated September 6, 2013, and the Grosse Ile Historical Society 5K Run, November 23, 2013, 10 a.m. to noon, Park Lane, over the toll bridge.
Second.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Budney to approve the consent agenda. Discussion among the board?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I do have a question on the check register for August 23rd. Just an explanation of the membership dues for Ford Yacht Club on page, that's actually on the first page of the check numbers.
We'll let Ann, that's a simple, go ahead, Ms. Darsniak.
There is a simple explanation.
That is for reserve police officers. That is a benefit that they can buy a membership for the club for their services.
Oh, okay.
That's one.
I had the same question. It caught my eye, and if that's all it costs for the service they provide, it's a bargain. Other questions, concerns from the board on the consent agenda? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda stands approved. Moving to the action items.
Okay, Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Communications Commission recommendation to select Revised Software Systems of Troy, Michigan as the township's website vendor and to negotiate a contract for their services.
Second.
Okay, moved by Trustee Smith, and was it Mr. Budney?
Yes.
Yes.
Seconded by Trustee Budney.
At the August 14th Communication Commission meeting, the commission voted to recommend to the Township Board that Revise be selected as its website vendor and to negotiate a contract for its services. The enclosed RFP is for $9,800. The in-house web maintenance budget for the year 2013-2014 is $5,000 and will be adjusted from the account 1010849970040. And to give you a little bit of history on this, a little bit more, Revise is probably one of the, was absolutely the best proposal that we had seen. And as the commission had pointed out, we really were looking for an organization from the state of Michigan to try and keep our dollars local if possible. We originally started with a budget of about $17,000 that we were only considering proposals under that amount, and Revise came in well under that, obviously. But they provide high-quality design, functionality, and ease of use for a price point that is certainly unmatched in the industry today. With this, there are going to be serious benefits coming from this as far as citizen request trackers, calendars of events, online payment portals, emergency alerts and forms and survey tools, amongst many other options. So, I don't know if Chairwoman Kathy Walker is here, as well as Mr. Nagrant. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but, I'd love to have you guys up at the podium because I do appreciate, the hard work that was put into this.
Well, at this point, we're entertaining questions, comments from the board only, so I'll open up to board members. Questions for is it Mr. Nagrant?
Yes.
Welcome to Grosse Ile Township. And Kathy, thanks for moving this along.
Yes.
It's been an interest of mine since about day one. I will say Mr. Fournier carried us through in a Herculean effort, a dramatic improvement from the existing website we had, but the residents are expecting more. At the Townships Association conference, this is the backbone of your communication. This is the virtual town hall. This is where the modern resident expects to be able to do business without having to come in here and try to find, or do most of their business. And also, potential incoming residents will be looking at this to see what the township offers. They'll be looking at the school's website to see what the school offers, and that's where people shop first, is on the internet, and I think we will have a good position with these improvements. The school's done a good job with theirs. We're going to have an even better job with ours, so I'm real excited about this, especially, I don't want to say the bid, as nice as the bid was, because you'll try to, but I think we got the contract signed, or almost.
Almost.
May I?
Mrs. Walker.
Thank you. A little bit of more history. We had 26 submissions. That's a lot. And I want to thank my commission and our trustee. We really worked at this. We had 4 special meetings going through the information. 26 is a lot to go through to begin with, and then to whittle it down. And then we whittled down to 4. Then we had 1 marathon meeting with 4 different, 4 of the finalists. And Mr. Navin's was wonderful. And the biggest thing that I felt, and I don't think we've touched on it yet, is the mobile use. And that's where I felt, and I think everyone else felt, you were our superior, you were not catching up, you were leading the pack. And everything has to be chunk texting. Everybody, the people nowadays, they do not read, they skim. They do bullet points, and this is where we have to be if we are going to help to bring people to the island and encourage the use of it. This is really important. And I do want to thank the township manager, Dale Ream, who worked tirelessly with me and Deputy Clerk Sharon Gray. They both helped me, guiding me through the process of the RFP to make sure that we did everything by the book, including how we handled our interviews, because that was very important. I wanted to thank everybody for that. Now, if you have any questions that I can't answer, Mr. Neighbor is here.
I guess I'd just like to say, regarding your comments of the office, that was the intention of the committee, to put together a government website rather than just an online business card. And so what we're bringing to the party is together the synergy of the group. We're going to build a township communication center. As Kathy was leading to, it's going to have a design programming methodology called responsive web, which means it doesn't matter what size screen that you're looking at your website on. It could even be a small little BlackBerry. Everything will be adjusted. You don't have to take your little fingers and zoom in to finally read the sentences. So this is going to help encourage individuals that want to relocate to this area. They're going to come to and see a progressive government with just the technology that you have. Much less also, we're finding with some of our other clients, we have over 700 municipalities throughout the whole United States. We're located right here in Michigan. That's great. What it is that you'll be able to set keywords, so you're going to get a higher search engine attraction. What that means is when someone's surfing and puts in specific keywords, your website's going to have a higher attraction to jump into their lap compared to everyday websites. So you can use it as a vehicle for economic development, population relocation, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you're going to be really excited with the outcome of the website when we build it.
Mr. Whitehouse.
What is the price ranges that you got, Kath? Just curious.
$3,000 to $126,000.
I want to work with that guy.
He's got a place in Dubai. He's in Troy, actually.
Just one thing, yes, we were a little bit lower on the pricing side. We did do that intentionally. With all of our clients in Michigan, when we're on TV, we get a little bit of favoritism. So anyways, we intentionally really wanted this project for a lot of different reasons. Our creative team looked at the area and said, wow, we could come up with something that really shows the area. So as I was telling Kathy, I was calling her maybe a little bit more than some of the other vendors because of the fact that, our creative team wanted to know the answer, whether we won the contract or not. So anyways, again, hopefully, you guys did approve it, so I want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you.
No, they've approved it. You're still
We recommend.
You got one more hurdle.
All right, okay, thank you.
And just a question on the, you have budgeted at 5,000, the RFPs for 9,800. Are we going to do a budget adjustment, or is this?
We have scheduled some other major projects within the Cable Commission budget. We're going to see where those come in at. Right now, we're only at a 25% expenditure rate, so it's too early in the process to see if we really need to budget this, as long as the Cable Commission stays within budget.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Historically, we always seem to come in a little under, just so you know.
Other comments from the board? I was glad to see it was a Michigan, even a nearby Michigan firm. I was always afraid if we bid with somebody who was in Abu Dhabi or Bangladesh, you know, I can't threaten them over the phone. If I have a problem, I tell you, I'm going to be there at your office in an hour and we're going to talk. You're pretty sure I'm going to be there. So I'm just tickled. I'm really pleased with where this is going. Other comments from the board?
Just one question.
Mr. Ranka.
What's the expected time frame for up and running with the new site?
Probably longer than you want, but I'll be honest with you, the slowdown will be on our side. And I've already started working. Dale has sent me information that I have to communicate to all the different departments, because they have to look at their pages and say, do we want this, don't we want this? And once they start doing their work, we'll come in and say, okay, do you really need this? How much do we, you know, we have, what, 198 pages, 92 pages, yeah, something like that. And we have to go through it. So I have to keep on all of the departments, and I'm sure they'll love to hear from me. But, you know, I will do it, and that's the biggest part. And I heard that when I talked to another vendor of yours, and that was Pontiac. They said the biggest problem was not on your end, it was on their end. So it's up to us to get our managers and our employees looking at this, whoever's delegated in the department, say, we need this, we don't need this, we want this, tell us what you want. And like I said, Dale has already, again, been so helpful sending me information that I have to draw up a letter and send out to all the management team.
Well, this is an opportunity, oh, I'm sorry, but good.
So is that first of the year,
Oh, I would think so.
first of next month?
Yeah.
Sure. Anyways, I'm hoping within 4 months.
I guess, right, that
Yeah.
would be a good time frame.
That's
Again, it all
realistic.
depends. If we get information quicker, we can launch it faster. Genesee County was phenomenal. They answered us within 5 minutes. We had a question. We rebuilt their website from scratch and had it live within 4.5 weeks. But to be more realistic, I was working with the IT department. They had to have everything all mapped out, so there wasn't so much that had to be done there. But typically, if we get information, like Kathy says, within 4 months easily we'll have that up and running. The hardest part is the design, because it's so subjective. Other than that, it's downhill.
Okay.
I'm not real concerned about your end at all. I mean, people have to really take this serious because we want this done, and everybody has to work together and row the boat together. Because if some departments don't do it, then we're holding everybody up.
Well, this is an opportunity for the residents that are here and those listening. What have you seen on other municipal websites that you would like to see on ours? If we don't have it now, you need to let us, and I'm going to say Mrs. Smith, know. And because, you know, if we don't know what you want to see, we can't add that to the website. So please keep us advised, any of us. Let us know what you'd like to see.
Come to our meeting. We have a meeting every month, second Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So please, you're all welcome. We look forward to it.
Okay. Other questions, comments? All right, with none offered. Those in favor of approving the Communication Commission recommendation to select Revised Software Systems of Troy, Michigan, as the township's website vendor and to negotiate a contract for their services, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered? This wasn't one of the, nope. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Ranka.
move to approve lot split / reconfiguration number 380, 21538 and 21338 Colonial Court, lot number 2 and 3 Westcroft subdivision, based upon a recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Okay, we have a motion from Trustee Ranka. Support. Okay, seconded by, did I say Trustee? Clerk Ranka, and supported by Trustee Budney.
So a little bit of background, there's a finding of fact from the Planning Commission in here, but this is a relatively routine planning Commission action with a lot split. It does create 2 lots, so we're not actually creating another buildable lot, and it also reconfigures the lot in such a way that they're a little more regular. So really no issues on this one from a Planning Commission standpoint.
Okay, as I recall, looking at the plats, we're actually returning this to the original configuration. That portion had been split off, and it's being reattached. It's kind of odd, but yeah, it is returning to a more regular configuration, which may save problems down the road. Questions, comments from the board? Right, if not offered, this will require a roll call vote. And I'll begin with Mrs. Smith.
Yay. What?
Vote.
She said yes.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Ms. Posiask.
Yes.
Mr. Budney.
Yes.
I'm going to start making you say aye and get that. Okay. Mr. Malvesto.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Don. Treasurer Van Oss.
Aye.
Clerk Ranka.
Aye.
And Supervisor aye. Motion carries. Okay. And thanks to the Planning Commission for the work on that. Mr. Clerk Ranka.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve the special land use for the Grosville Rowing Club, part of lots number 3 and 4, Gulf View Estates, based upon the recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Okay, motion by Clerk Ranka.
Support.
And seconded by Trustee Budney.
So this is listed incorrectly in the agenda. It says special land use and a site plan review. We're only going to be talking special land use tonight. That being said, just a little background on special land use. Zoning ordinances, there are uses by right, which basically says that no matter who owns the property, you have the right to do it in such a way. So, for example, if you have a zoning ordinance, building is in the R1E district, it's a residential district, so you have absolutely every right to build a household in that zoning district. And then there are things called special land use, and special land uses are things that are reviewable in different zoning areas based upon the approval from the Planning Commission and approval from this board. This is a special land use. It is for basically a rowing club, which would be on the same property or very similar property to the West Shore Golf and Country Club. So the golf club is a special land use. It's not approved by right in that district, but it's approved by special land use. A rowing club or a similar club to this is also reviewed or is also allowed by special land use, not by right. So if this were to be approved tonight, this would only allow the rowing club to use that property. Any future use would have to come back for a site plan or for special land use again. The next step would be a site plan review, and that's more of what the building looks like and does it fit there architecturally. So tonight, just to be clear, we are only talking special land use for the ability to put a rowing club in this zoning area.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Ranka. Questions, comments from the board on this particular issue? Mr. Budney.
Yes. Eric, I guess you'd be the one to answer this. I was looking over LSL's report, and that's what I assumed that we were just doing the land use. Under the compatibility with adjacent uses, I'm concerned about the impact on the residents surrounding it. I realize they're taking West Shore's property, but there are also houses. And under the compatibility section, they noted that they're going to provide a buffer zone. It's required by the ordinance, and it indicates, which should help. What happens if it doesn't? What are the recourses for those residents if? And I know probably the one thing I heard the most from people was the noise factor. And I know there was a lot of discussion regarding that. But what happens if, in fact, ultimately it does cause a lot of distraction in the neighborhood? What can be done about it?
Yeah, so first of all, with the buffer zone, so the buffer zone will be part of two things. Number one, it's required in the ordinance. Number two, it will be part of the site plan review. So when and if this comes back, it's part of site plan review. As far as what can be done, once it's in there, it becomes just like any other use. It's allowed in there, and then it would be controlled just like a party at Centennial Farm at, 2 o'clock in the morning that's making a lot of noise, right? It would be
So
first
he
dealt
calls
with.
to Joe.
It would be caused to Joe, and from then it would be, it would be what's ever listed in the special law, I'm sorry, the special land use permit.
Okay.
So the planning commission has reviewed this, Pete's for a couple of years now, and there's been a lot of public hearings on it. That is the one issue that does keep coming up. However, the planning commission feels that this is similar to other uses that are a special land use, and that would be mitigated by the topography of the land as well as the site plan itself.
Okay, I did have another question in that regard. If you flip your page there, Eric, regarding safety, it talks about the submittal noted that the coaches will supervise all activities and will likely include pedestrian crossings and safety escorts and reflective safety vests, traffic cones temporarily placed in oncoming traffic lanes, and additional features. Is that really what they're going to do?
So safety
And how does that impact the people in the area?
So safety was one of the larger concerns raised, and there's a whole plan for safety with lighted vests and cones that has been gone through. It's been reviewed by the police department and approved. It's considered as part of the special land use approval. So they have to be following those guidelines, otherwise their special land use approval can be revoked.
Okay, thanks, Eric.
Okay, other questions, comments from the board? I know this has been a somewhat contentious issue, but I think the homework's been done.
Yeah, a lot of homework from all sides on this one.
Well, with no further questions, this will again require a roll call vote. So the motion is to approve the special land use for the Ghost Hill Rowing Club, part of lot number 3 and number 4 of Gulfview Estates, based upon the recommendation from the Planning Commission. The roll call, Mr. Posiask.
Both yes and aye.
You only get one vote, but I'll take the aye. Mr. Malvesto.
Aye.
Clerk Ranka.
Aye.
Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Bunting.
Aye.
Treasurer Van Oss. And Supervisor aye. Motion carries. Again, a lot of work has been done on this. Congratulations. Step 2 out of 5.
Yeah, step 2 out of several.
Right.
At this board level, anyway. The first one was the lot split. Second one was special land use. The third one would now be has been having trouble with identifying clearly and consistently, and people have questions with this one, so this has been brought up to the Planning Commission. So at the beginning of the year, we look through and figure out what we're going to work on, and it's basically what are residents having issues with at the ZBA, what are staff, people in the building department having trouble, or residents having trouble discerning and coming to the right conclusions on, and this is one of those ones.
Thanks, Eric.
I'm impressed by the simplicity of the solution. And it's just, it rarely does anything, do you ever find a solution that's that simple, that easy to understand, and that will make everybody as happy as one could reasonably expect. So I'll give you a nicely done for that. Other questions, comments from the board? I've been offered. Again, it'll require another roll call vote. I'll start with Mrs. Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Budney?
Aye.
Mr. Posiask?
Aye.
Mr. Malvesto?
Aye.
Treasurer Van Os?
Aye.
Clerk Ranka?
Aye.
And Supervisor, aye. Motion carries. Whoa, we move on to action item 4. Mrs. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Nicole Finney and Woody Clark to the Festival Commission for the term length of September 9th, 2013 to August 31st, 2016.
Second.
Okay, moved by Trustee Smith, seconded by Trustee Posiask. We have, well, comments from the board. Mrs. Smith?
Nothing really. I mean, we're very excited to have these two individuals on. I think that they have a lot to contribute, so it'll be a good start. We've had some vacancies for a while, so we're starting to get a full commission.
Okay, thank you. Other questions, comments from the board?
Just to comment on the qualifications.
I saw that too. I'm just forewarned members of the commission, the festival commission, that I will be looking for something of a hot wash. I'd like to get the financials on the most recent one and just see dollars in, dollars out, where we can make improvements, what we're getting a good return for our investment and where we're not. I think it's a big event. Focus on the parts that are successful and maybe migrate away from those parts that weren't so successful, and always improving our festival.
Agreed. We had a very productive previous meeting, and we were all asking those sort of questions, so we plan on moving
Excellent.
down that path.
Okay. Other questions, comments from the board? All right, none offered. Those in favor of approving Mrs. Nicole Finney, and I'm looking for a real name other than Mr. Woody Clark, to the
That's a real
Festival
name.
Commission for the terms Mrs. Smith enunciated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. Mr. Clark, welcome aboard. Again, Mrs. Finney, welcome aboard.
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Clerk?
I move to adopt the tablet, computer, and board portal acceptable use policy dated September 9th, 2013 for all Township of Groesville Board of Trustees members and management employees that are provided a Township-owned computer, tablet device, and/or granted access to the board portal application.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Budney. Moved by Clerk Ranka, seconded by Trustee Budney.
So
At last.
At last. So the background on this one is, we're moving away from the huge paper packets every week to an online system, which is going to basically rely on tablet computers. So this is just a very simple policy for the board and anybody who's issued one of these devices on how to treat it and what's to be expected of you for using the device.
Questions, comments from the board? Mr. Budney?
Yes, I seem to have a lot of questions tonight. Second page of the policy, I have a little bit of a problem with if the device is lost, stolen, or destroyed without any parameters, replacement will be at the expense of the recipient. I mean, certainly if it's at the negligence of the recipient, I have no problem with that, but if it's some unforeseen accident, I don't know that I care for the expense being the recipient's. And I just...
What would be acceptable there, just so we can move on? I think there's other things in here that are important, just from a legal standpoint that we have, and I see your point. There could definitely be areas where it's not entirely your fault. Right? So if we were to change that sentence, right now it reads, replacement will be at the expense of the recipient.
Right, which...
Maybe we just say for now, replacement may be at the expense of the recipient.
that at least gives us an argument.
At least gives us an argument. Well, obviously, this is not set in stone. This is, you can always come back.
And that'd be fine. That'd be fine.
Obviously, if there's evidence of negligence, we would...
absolutely, but if
it's destroyed by water from a fire at Township Hall, I don't think we're going to hold us...
And under here, it would hold us responsible. That's fine.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Posias.
is there a possibility that there is an insurance policy to protect us from that?
What is our insurance coverage on, it's township equipment, so it should be under the umbrella as long as negligence isn't involved.
There's still going to be a deductible, which is probably $2,500 per property, so.
Yeah, the deductible's 2,500, and these things are going to be like 350.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you buy technological equipment of a personal nature, you can buy a policy that protects you just like a cell phone. If you lost it, and dropped it, or drove over it with your car, that you could have some possible recourse.
There might be a warranty on it. There's a warranty on the manufacturer, from the manufacturer, but not for loss or.
Right.
Yeah.
Accidental damage. I think we ought to look at that.
So we can take that as a point to investigate what the best way is from a replacement standpoint, if it's an insurance policy or if it's something we can, before we make the purchase, if we can purchase a one-time policy, for example. So we can take that homework and look into that.
I don't have a problem with the changing the will to make.
Okay, other questions, comments from the board? I have one thing I'd like the board to consider. Again, on the first page, fourth paragraph down, use of confidential information, and these are some of the restrictions, use of confidential information inconsistently or in violation of the township's code of ethics. Go back to a motion of a month or so ago, we don't have a code of ethics. We do, however, have a paragraph on ethical standards, and I think if we just wrote in the township's ethical standards from the policies and procedures manual would fill that square until we do write a code of ethics.
Yeah, I see no reason why that couldn't be changed in there as well.
So you want that last sentence, point E, to say use of confidential information inconsistently with or in violation of the township's ethical standard policy.
Yes, that will cover it. Or at least to my standards, and to my expectations.
That looks good to me.
Okay. Other questions, comments from the board? I was telling the clerk earlier, as I was sitting at the Downriver Community Conference meeting with my stack of papers for all the things that they are covering, and John Dubsieski from Flat Rock has his tablet, and he's breezing through and I'm flipping papers, and other guys are just twiddling their thumbs, and I thought, that's going to be me at the next meeting. So I'm excited about this because what you see as
Twiddling your thumbs?
not me. No, I was prepared.
Just wanted to make sure.
I actually printed all the agenda items. I'm just excited about what you see us here. We do bring a lot of paperwork here, but all of us are at dozens of other meetings, both inside and outside the township, and most of them involve stacks of paper. More and more communities are going to the tablets. I'm really looking forward to this transition. So, Clerk Rankin, nicely done.
Well, Sharon Gray and Dale, great job on the draft.
Let's get it approved first. So, any other questions, comments from the board? All right, with none offered, those in favor of adopting the tablet computer and board portal acceptable use policy dated September 9, 2013, for all Township of Grosse Ile Board of Trustees members and management employees that are provided a township board computer, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. That motion carries. And again,
Sorry.
that's right.
Caught you late.
It
doesn't have to be, it's just a suggestion.
It is it's a policy, so
By I'll take each one of them voting yes.
Oh,
that I will be happy with that. Thank you, Mrs. Gray. Okay, motion carries.
Mr. Supervisor,
Ms. Podolak.
we have a resignation from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. And our recommended action is to accept with regret the resignation of Gary Bailey from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission effective September 9, 2013.
Second.
Okay, moved by Trustee Posias, seconded by Trustee Smith to accept with regret the resignation of Mr. Bailey. Comments from the board other than Gary, thank you for your service on this, and hopefully we'll keep you on ZBA?
yes, he's on
He's the
ZBA.
ZBA?
Yep.
So,
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, just one quick comment. Yeah, I'd like to personally thank Gary for his support of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Commission. I know the last year, he's been instrumental in helping Bird Dog to get the costs down and help us being able to actually put that in. So very thankful for for Gary's service on the commission.
Other comments from the board?
I'd echo that. Thank you, Gary.
Well, with that, those in favor of accepting with regret, the resignation of Mr. Gary Bailey from the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Again, Gary, thank you. Move on, let's go to number 7.
7. Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to
Mr. Chairman.
make a motion for approval to amend ordinance 20-2D, which is licensing for dogs, cats, and ferrets.
I chuckle about that too, looking for support.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Clerk Ranka. Fill us in.
Basically, the Grosse Ile Code requires the Township Board to establish these fees. The fees for pet licensing are as follows: $6 fee for the calendar year if purchased by January 31st, $12 if purchased between February and December 31st. The $6 fee for new residents or new pet owners purchasing within that calendar year.
Okay, other questions, comments from the board? Mr. Budney?
What were the old fees?
I don't think we had a
Or did
mid-year.
we have?
We had a fee rate, it was the same.
Same?
Yeah, this is
So
just a
it's supposed
step,
to
I
be
believe
done
it
every
was the
year?
same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mrs. Dozniak.
Actually, it was done by month, and it was really, like, at first, they charged $12, and it went down to $8 and $6. It
Wow.
just became cumbersome, so it was
Okay.
just easier to standardize it.
Very good.
So we've standardized a
You had
mid-year.
to fill in for the cashier and go, how much is a dog tag? So it became the most difficult thing to do at the position, and so we tried to see.
Okay, when I saw ferrets on there, I did some research, and there are some states that prohibit private ownership of ferrets, Michigan not being one of them. Have we sold any ferret licenses?
Not to my knowledge.
Anyway, if you choose to have a pet ferret, make sure you get your license. Other questions, comments from the board?
The tag is bigger than the ferret.
Yeah.
I'd just like to see all of those cats up there with these tags on. Send me a picture sometime.
Good point. Okay. Other questions, comments from the board? With none offered, again, this will require a roll call vote. So I'll start with Mrs. Smith again.
Aye.
Mr. Budney?
Aye.
Mr. Posiask?
Aye.
Mr. Malvesto?
Aye.
Clerk Ranka?
Aye.
Treasurer Van Oss?
Aye.
Supervisor Loftus? Aye. Motion carries. All right, we are number 9. This could be a little more complicated. Recommend that the board adopt the Municipal Employees Retirement System of Michigan Defined Benefit Programs for union employees hired after September 1st, 2013, to a C1, which is a 1.5% multiplier, 55/25 years of qualification, V6, Fact 3, with a maximum contribution of 10%.
Support.
Thank you, sir. Supported by Treasurer Van Oss. Okay, the background, at the March 25th Township Board meeting, the board approved the agreement between the Township of Grosse Ile and the TPOAM, Technical Professional and Office Workers Association of Michigan, dated March 25th, 2013 through March 31st of 2018, which included that retirement coverage for all new union hires who were hired after March 25th to MERS Benefit Program C1, 1.5% multiplier. Maximum township contribution will be at 10% with no cost of living adjustment. At that time, it was determined that an official resolution would be needed to make this happen, and the resolution is attached. That's what we'll be voting on. Estimated cost for the new hire is estimated at approximately 6.76%. Mrs. Dudek, would you, I understood the bulk of it.
Right, what we're doing here is, currently, when we hired our new administration person, we lowered their pension benefit, and what we did with the TPOAM, It's the same with new employees for lowering their pension benefit. It's basically what Ms. Schneider has asked the states to do, and we're looking, revamping our pension benefit, and that's what we're doing with all new hires. So this is our second step now. We did it to the administration, now we're doing it to our TPO. So
Yep.
we're headed in that direction.
And at the same time, with the 457 plan, you open the opportunity for the individual to bulk up his own retirement.
That's correct.
So this was part of switching from a defined benefit to a defined contribution.
No,
And we're
it's
just-
still
This is a benefit.
It's still a defined benefit, but we are maximizing the township contribution to 10%. So it's the best of both worlds.
capping it at 10%.
Correct.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bundy.
What about the other things in the adoption agreement? Where did,
Those are consistent with our pension. We've also reduced the cost of living adjustment that we currently have for all new hires. So it's a vesting 6 years, same across the board. The only things that we eliminated and reduced were the actual multiplier as well as the cost of living adjustment, which no longer exists.
so if I read this correctly, to receive 1 month's service credit, our employees only have to work part-time. They only have to work 20 hours a
It's
week.
all full-time people.
Well, it says here, it says in the adoption agreement, 80 hours a month. I don't see how that works out to full-time. It might very well be that that's a misprint or something, or filled out incorrectly, but it says an employee shall work 80 hours in a month to receive 1 month's service credit.
That's different than full-time. A month of service is not necessarily a month of full-time for vesting purposes. There's a
Well,
distinction.
that's exactly right. And here, they only have to work 80 hours to get that full service credit, that month credit. Is that the way all our plans are
No,
written?
we're required to work full-time to be in this.
To get credit, to get
One.
1 month's service credit, they only have,
No, yeah, that's not correct.
and that's what I was wondering.
Okay, no, we have to work the 160.
Like 160 hours a month.
Yes.
So that's a
Yes.
okay. And the things in the adoption agreement, who are they discussed with? Who goes over that and check? Now, because this is a new adoption agreement for new hires,
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
So it could change from what the old employees had. We made it the same,
It did change,
but the 1.5 did.
as well as the cost of living.
Right, but the other things,
Negotiated in their contract.
the other things were the same.
Correct.
And my question was, who was this discussed with? How the process of saying, okay, we want to make everything else the same?
That was part of the negotiation process.
Who?
Oh, the negotiating.
Who?
with the TPO,
Who?
yeah.
No, they don't tell, you negotiate with them, we negotiate with them, they don't tell us what to do. I'm asking who was, on our part, who was the negotiating team?
Dale and myself.
Okay,
Okay.
just the two of you.
And the attorney was,
All right, I mean, at what point does it ever get to the board other than after it's all done?
we approved the contract.
You approved the
Yeah, I-
contract in March.
Yeah,
And we obviously meet throughout that whole negotiation process with the board as well as with the union.
and you guys update us.
It was specified in the union.
Okay,
contract, yeah.
thank you. So just to make sure, that 80 hours is an error and it should be 160, is that correct?
Yes. We were gonna be
Okay,
there.
because I interpret that as being for a month of full-time credit as opposed to what constitutes full-time employment. So I want to see that this.
Yeah, it's two different things. It's two different things.
So we want clarification on that.
I think what they're talking about is the last month of service, but let me get back with you. Like
Okay.
when they're working the last month, are you gonna call that month if they work more than half a month of service in their last year? That's what I think, that's what this is. It's not being the full-time to be part of the program. I think this is just when they're complying.
Because if they're only working 20 hours a week, we don't have to give them benefits.
I think that if they're working for the last month of service is what they're saying, but.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because that's not what the adoption agreement says, so.
Right.
Yeah, if you would check that out, please.
Other questions, comments from the board?
Based on moving this forward, Ann, would it be all right if we made that change
Yeah.
to 160? All right.
That won't affect any other parts of the contract.
Because there's no other part now.
And if there's any change to that, you'll bring it back before this board.
If I can't change, if I will change that and send it.
All right.
Okay. So we can expect that where it says 80, we're going to have 160.
Right.
Good. Other questions, comments from the board?
Yeah, I was wondering if we might be able to eventually get MERS to come in and give us a presentation about their programs. Do you think that would be possible? Great. Cool.
Other questions, comments? Not on the list. Okay. With no further comments offered, those in favor of adopting the municipal employees retirement system, the Michigan defined benefit programs for union employees hired after September 1st, as previously discussed, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Okay, the motion carries, and with that noted correction, thank you. That will conclude our action items. We'll move on to clerk's report. Mr. Rankin.
Mr. Supervisor, so everyone up in the Board of Trustees has received a letter from Sharon Gray and myself basically explaining the email conversion system. So the letter is basically to officially let everyone know that hopefully it's going to be on September 11th, but this Wednesday we should have our new server up and running. And when that happens, we will be able to use our new email addresses. And once those new email addresses are online, we want to use exclusively those email addresses for Township business. Obviously, keep your personal email address for whatever you want it for, but for Township business, use the new email address. For archiving purposes, the best way to do that is to basically go through your sent file, since you've been here, and just forward it to your new email account, and then we will archive it on your new email account. So you can self-archive without having to go through any kind of an issue.
Hope we got a lot of memory. I got a lot of it.
So again, it's got to be it's got to be an official township record. But I just wanted to get this out to everybody in an official manner. So as soon as we're up and running, we can stop using the old email addresses, and we'll use the new email addresses with the groziel.com ending. And that's it for clerk's report.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Ranko. Mr. Treasurer.
Just an update, all the new addresses will be in the new phone book. All the new email addresses will be in the new Groziel phone book. Because that's the only publication that we really get out to all the people. The investment report for the month of July shows a total of $12,664,565 invested in various accounts. These accounts generated a total of $1,178 in investment interest, with an average rate of 0.18%. The 2013 summer tax bills are due next Monday, September 16th. Payments will be taken here at the Township without late penalty until 5 p.m. Mail postmarked with that date will be accepted as timely. Beginning September 17th, a 1% penalty will be added per calendar month. Deferments for an extension of the due date are also required to be filed by September 16th. Approved deferments will extend the September 16th due date until February 14th, 2013. I have a complete breakdown of all of our investments. Be available at my office. You can see myself or Annette, and she'll give you a complete breakdown by account. It's 4 or 5 pages long. I think the Commerce Park Commission meets the third Monday. We've got a couple issues we'll be discussing, and I have nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Move on to trustee reports. Ms. Posiask.
I have several things to report, Mr. Supervisor. The first is the Wayne County Household Hazardous Waste Collection that's coming up on October 13th. It'll be occurring at the Southland Shopping Center on Eureka Road in Party. If you want to bring things to it, we went off of Party Road near the Target store. They accept a lot of things, but they will not be accepting things like commercial waste or industrial waste, no radioactive material. That includes smoke detectors, folks. No explosives, no ammunition, no household trash, no refrigerators, microwaves, or other appliances. I have a full list here and we'll submit it, and I believe that your camera gets a copy of it too. But if you don't, then I'll give you a copy of this. Saturday, October 13th is the wrong date. I'll check that out in a moment. I'll be back in. The second event is also a Wayne County event. It's going to take place at the same place and at the same time as the Dump the Junk event. And I'm going to ask Woody Clark to make comments on the Dump the Junk event. But this is new and special for us from Wayne County. October 19th, 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock. And I was on the phone with the vendor today, and they want to do it 2 days, not one. So all of the time that Dump the Junk will be running, so will the e-waste event. You can bring your electronic items, and they will be accepted by the folks running this program. Now, e-waste, Dump the Junk has a philosophy is dump your junk and someone else may find it as a treasure and take it home. E-waste doesn't work that way. E-waste is a one-way street. For integrity of your data and or possible integrity problems with your data, if you turn in a computer or a cell phone and there are phone numbers or sensitive records on any of these devices, you certainly don't want that in the hands of somebody else. And so, the way that once you bring to the e-waste event, it will be accepted, but no one else can get it. You can bring your computer, you can bring a laptop, you can bring keyboards, mice, TVs, VCRs, stereos, cell phones, microwaves, Christmas lights, game consoles, whatever you like. This is a really nice addition to Dump the Junk, and Wayne County's coming through at no cost to Brazil. So make sure to keep the word on whatever the several venues to build Dump the Junk and the waste collection. Let's take full advantage of this, neighbors. We also have a ribbon cutting coming up. Let me speak this one from the hip. On the 29th of September, the newest addition to the Girlsville Bike Path system will be officially open with a ribbon cutting ceremony. A ribbon cutting ceremony will be advertised in several venues. You'll see flyers, and the Bike Path Commission's worked very hard to put this all together. About the event, but in a nutshell, it will happen at 1 o'clock. It will happen at the east end of the new bike path on Horse Mill, right across from the Rosedale Presbyterian Church. And as I understand, they have been most gracious at the Presbyterian Church to offer us the use of their parking lot and to help them consume their lemonade and cookies that they will provide. So that's awful nice of those folks. This is an exciting event for very many reasons. And two people that are very prominent in this event are the chairman, Brian Pollock, and Eric Ranka, Clerk Ranka, who was the former chairman of the Bike Path. Between Mr. Pollock and Mr. Ranka, they got this thing off and running. And then they dumped it in my lap to finish it, which I hope I've done it right. We have a lot of things coming together in this, and there will be there's a lot of history that I'm proud to introduce here. And, I asked Brian Mr. Chairman Loftus, Supervisor Loftus, pardon me, to make some choices as to who we would like to see cut that ribbon. Now, I don't want to see Harry and Brian standing at the ribbon line, but the scissors are going to be two choices of the supervisor. Would you like to reveal your choices, Mr. Supervisor?
It'd be a pleasure for me to make that announcement. I'm honored to mention two names, and I'm going to start with Mr. Jack Duffy, the president, who is a non-volunteer and has graciously accepted to assume the ribbon cutting duties as one of them. I still can't say how Jack, it's just in the job too long, but Mr. Duffy was instrumental with the bike pass as part of public services. He's been a contributor to the township in preparing the bike pass. We're out there with the shovel when we put around on it, and he's been helping see this through. So, John, it'd be an honor to say that, and also Miss Mara Miller. John Miller was our fellow board member when we did the first bike pass in the early 90s, mid-90s. I'd like to date somewhere, but Mrs. Miller will be joining you for the ribbon cutting. I can't think of two people that made more of an impact in this part of our community, and it would be an honor to see you there. So,
Mr. Supervisor, I'd just like to add that the Jack was a part of the ribbon cutting ceremony when the bridge over the Township Canal was built and dedicated, and I got that picture in my office very proudly. This ribbon cutting took place shortly after the passing of Mr. Neidhart, and so it's bittersweet. It's sweet. Mary, John's wife, is going to bring her whole family, and she is in tears over it. Mary's husband is really the father of the bike pass system. If you go out in front of the Public Service Department, you will see a big rock with a big plaque that dedicates the bike pass system to the John Neidhart Memorial Bike Pass System. This is the newest lake. That bike path wasn't anywhere near as big when John passed, so I'm sure he's up in heaven smiling and giving instructions to Mary how not to screw up the ribbon cutting. All right, hang on to the scissors, don't cut yourself. I know John very well, or do them all. Look, you two guys are going to be a great guys, man and lady, are going to be a great addition to that dedication. I would encourage everybody to come out here and celebrate what is really one of the defining wonderful good things about Grosse Ile. And I have one more besides that. The Grosse Ile Second Act also 13/475 steak and pot roast, which again will be held at the VFW Hall this fall, Saturday, October 5th. Corn, same salad, same desserts, same sorts of prizes, 50/50 raffle, $12 a person for a 10 to 12 ounce New York strip steak, cooked the way you want it. If you have children, they can have a hot dog dinner with all of the trimmings the rest of the way for $3. And if your children are 7 or less, they're free. Come on down and join the community and join the lanes, contribute to a good charitable cause. That's the end of my report, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Tomorrow we have a DPS meeting. I encourage everybody to come down and talk to us about your roads, your soils, and your water. No ZBA meeting this month, to my knowledge. We didn't have any appeals. And I would just like to personally thank Eric and Larry for all that they've done on that bike path. And my mic went out.
You're doing so well.
Yeah, very well. As well as the bike path committee, I know you've, everybody's worked very hard on it, and we all should be proud as a community for that. Thank you.
Yeah, just to reiterate, that's it.
This is absolutely a community project. It's not a one-person or two-person or three or four-person project. This is a huge project. Tax dollar supported, millage supported, people from this board, people in the audience, people from the staff. So it's been a lot of people to make this happen. So just as happy as anybody else is to see people on that path and using it.
Issue that I think Mr. Buddy can cover better than I can.
One other DPS issue that I'm going to cover. Very quickly, this is an attention for all Groseal residents, beginning September 16th, which I believe is next Monday. The Groseal Department of Public Service will begin annual water main flushing and fire hydrant inspection. And it will continue until it's completed. During that time, you may see some discolored water in your sinks or toilets, and you shouldn't be alarmed. It should go away quickly. Residents experiencing that condition can let the cold water run and run it in their laundry tubs, and it will clear up. You may also want to avoid washing clothes on that date from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. until the flushing is complete. They do this every year, and it's necessary to make sure that the fire hydrants are working properly. If you have any questions, contact the DPS office at 676-5959.
Thank you, Mr. Budney. Mr. Malvesto.
These are two tough guys to follow. I'm going to keep it short. Fire department is pushing 390 calls so far this year to date.
Yes.
Yeah, right around 390 calls.
We're all running together.
Yeah, you guys don't get a full night's sleep, do you? Few things going on in the rec department, but I'll have more to talk about as soon as we get a few more approvals. One of our roadblocks currently would be for the kayak launch is the lizard head snake. If somebody happens to see one of those, please let us know, or don't. That's our latest obstacle that Tim is fighting through in getting the approval, final approval for the kayak launch. But yeah, the lizard head snake, I've been here a long time. I've never seen one, let alone heard of one. But everything else is going well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Malvesto. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you. Just exciting. New server, new tablets, new email, new GITV equipment, new website on the horizon. Again, I want to thank Kathy Walker, the chair of the commission, as well as Ted Fournier. It's good to have him back, and
Thank the full commission for making this new website happen. So it's exciting, and good stuff is going to be coming. The next Communications Commission meeting is Wednesday the 11th, and the Festival Commission meeting is Wednesday the 18th. So come on out. That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Well, anytime we skip a meeting, my list gets long. There's just been a lot of stuff going on. I love this time of year. But we'll start out with just one of my usual supervisor safety tips. You probably noticed if after Labor Day the kids are back in school. Not all kids, but you know, watch. They're going to be crossing the street. They're going to be going to school. They're going to be leaving school. They're going to be congregating at bus stops. It's getting dark, or it's staying dark later in the morning, getting dark earlier in the evening. So, you know, there are bus stops on some of our darker roads. Please be careful. And for those of you going to school, we have sidewalks and bike paths through much of the island. If you can avoid walking on the street, please use the sidewalks. Goes for the riding the bicycles and the joggers. Please use the sidewalks. Please use the bike paths. Please don't be a statistic. Our firefighters, our rescue department is busy enough. We don't need to be picking people up from the side of the road. So let's just be careful out there. Moving on, the Veterans Gala. You've seen the advertising for it. In typical Groseal fashion, the ticket sales are slow until about the last 3 or 4 hours, and then it pretty much sells out. But we have some addenda that Mr. Deal sent me. Fox 2 News will be here to film the event, and they're working on a special of Tribute to the Troops, which will air at some later date. Of course, it's subject to their broadcast limitations, but they do plan to affirm this, and the theme this year is listed as special tribute to women in the military and women who support the troops, but what I'm seeing, women are quite a bit the troops now too, so the women who have served and are serving is the focus of this year's event. John Ogrodnik, those are hockey fans, which is just about everybody around here, will be there to support the gala, and former Red Wing will be there to support the gala, signing autographs. And there's a schedule of events. I will get it posted online, but it will be a good evening, static displays, wrap up the evening with fireworks. Tickets, $6 for adults 18 and under, $12 for adults, those are in advance, $15 at the door. Food, wine, beer, and soft drinks are available for purchase at the gala. And that is this Friday night, September 13th, from beginning at 4:30 p.m. to 10 p.m., fireworks at dark, weather permitting. Trenton Library, it's the anniversary. Actually, it's the 85th anniversary of libraries in Trenton, and there's an open house invitation. It was sent to me, but it was addressed to all the residents of Grosse Ile. We're all Trenton Library customers, and we pay taxes for that service. So we're all invited. It is to be held on Sunday, September 22nd, from 2 to 4 p.m. Trenton's Mayor Kyle Stack will be giving a proclamation at 2 p.m. So staff, family, friends, please stop by the Veterans Library at Trenton. It is a beautiful facility, and light refreshments will be provided. On Sunday, we held the light with the Historical Society. We held the annual lighthouse tour for the Grosse Ile North Channel Front Range Light. It was a sellout again. We had about 100 guests tour the lighthouse, and that's all we can cycle through in the time allotted. We don't like to bring more than 5 or 6 up to the lantern at any one time, and they get to listen to me give a quick rundown on lighthouse history. Most of the visitors were not Grosse Ile residents. There are people who have a passion for investigating, visiting, and learning about lighthouses. We had many of them attend. I love the comments I got, and again, I'm shamelessly promoting Grosse Ile all the time, but everyone commented on what a beautiful community we have here, and one couple said they come here regularly, they bring their bicycles here regularly just to bike around the island because we have such a nice bike path system, and it's such a beautiful place to ride. So those of you, thank you for keeping the island beautiful. It was just a pleasure to talk to these people. Some asked about maybe restoring the light to a functioning light. That's still a possibility. We have some work to do in that area, but there was interest in that. And the tour was followed by a cruise on the Diamond Jack that left from Bishop's Park, went by the Grosse Ile Light, down the Livingston Channel to the Detroit River Light, and then back up to Amherstburg where we could see the remnants, the ruins of the Boblo Island Light. Again, that was sold out also. The lighthouse aficionados were very impressed because the only way you can see the Detroit River Light is by boat, and we made that happen. So next year, for those of you who want to be a part of this, it's always the Sunday after Labor Day, and again, both are limited. A limited number of people we can get through the lighthouse, limited number of people we can get on the boat. So we're limited to about 100 people. Being early is better than being late. Coal vessels, some complaints on, and can we get information out as to when the coal vessels are going to be causing vehicular traffic to be closed off for a half an hour or greater at a time as the ships pass through. And our rep from DTE, Molly Lumpert-Coy, sends me updates as fast as she gets them, but it's not her schedule. It's the captain's schedule of the ship, and any one of a number of things can change the expected time. So the next one that's scheduled is for 12:30 p.m. on Wednesday, 18th of September. When I get a recent update, like within the last couple hours, I try to put it out on Facebook. We'll try to find other ways to get that information out to you. I don't know how we can get it to you if you're coming back from work or shopping and you see the line of traffic at the bridge, but we'll be exploring new ways of getting information out on these. Again, DTE tries to keep us updated, and we'll try to keep you updated as best we can. This week, on Wednesday was September 11th. It is a time to remember what happened that fateful day. It did change our lives. I want you to take a moment to think about, yes, there are a number of inconveniences we didn't have to endure before that, but watch the news of what's going on in Syria. That's not happening here because the little inconveniences we are putting up with are hopefully precluding a major inconvenience, hundreds of thousands of deaths, and that just seems to be a way of life in that part of the world. It's not a part here. If you're interested, the nearest national monument related to that is in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. It just opened. It's still expanding. That's just a little ways east of Pittsburgh. So if you're heading to the East Coast and you happen by, I've heard it's worth dropping in to see, and I hope to have the opportunity to see that sometime soon. Had a request to recognize Constitution Day. Those of you who didn't know when it was, it's September the 17th this coming week. Actually, it's next Tuesday. Constitution Day, when in 1787, the Continental Congress approved the new Constitution that replaced the Articles of Confederation. So now you know, September 17th was when the Constitution we live under today, with its 27 amendments, was ratified 3 years after the Treaty of Paris ended the American Revolution. And I've got to get up my thanks and my admiration for both our police department and fire and rescue. This is very personal to me. One of my neighbors, actually younger than I am, he was talking to his mother, collapsed in mid-sentence, flat out on the floor, no breathing, no pulse, and my neighbor was, of course, frantic. I was there. The police arrived almost instantly. The firemen not much later. They worked as a team. The police officer got stabilized. I guess it would be a form of triage. The EMTs were there moments later, and again, I watched this team work with synergy. They brought him back. He was clinically dead. They brought him back. And then talking with Chief Murdoch, that was one of 3 saves that day. So hopefully you'll never have to see that happen. But I did, and I was in awe. They're just, especially as I'm getting older, they're the best. So I'll close with that comment. And at this time, we'll turn over to the Township Manager for anything I didn't clean up. Mr. William.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. A few brief items. It was mentioned earlier about our new control room and the high tech. It's worth sticking your head in there. It's definitely a step forward in getting with the times. Is that a good way to explain it, I guess? We actually, Ted was able to arrange folks to run the equipment that use this type of equipment in some of their other freelance jobs. Just this afternoon, it was up and running. I was fully not expecting it to be up and running and broadcast today. So they really did a great job getting things together. Thanks to Ted, his staff, as well as the consultant. As Sharon and Clerk Ranko mentioned, we have the email changeover coming up on Wednesday, so our email will be down for a portion of that day. With technology always throwing you a curve, it could be as little as a few hours or the whole day, so plan on the whole day. And that way we'll be refreshed and surprised. And on a personal note, this is not a commercial, but it is. We at the Township are constantly working with different consultants. We're required to do certain trainings. We are constantly working on and updating our policies, procedures, and things of that nature. And I had the opportunity to work on a special project to update the Township Safety Manual, train the managers and the maintenance employees. And just the training alone would have cost the Township anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500. The work on updating the manual probably would have cost the Township in the neighborhood of $1,500 to $2,000. And all that done was in several hours put forward, and the effort was done by Trustee Posiask at no charge to the Township. So thank you, Mr. Posiask. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. So, again, that was not a commercial. I just wanted to say thank you, but he is
the
a
residents need to know
trained
that.
professional trainer, and he can do those types of things. So it is greatly appreciated. And with that, I would say thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. William. This time, open up to public comment. And, the rules haven't changed. We're trying to keep it at 3 minutes. This is on any topic you choose to talk about. Anything we think we need to know. Do I have a volunteer? Mrs. Walker.
Hello. Sorry to be a pain. Anyways, I just wanted to give you an update. Trustee Malvesto was mentioning it, and I wanted to say that we are at the end of our first organized paddle for the year for We Kayak. It's been very successful. We will have 14 weeks of it, 12 of which we participated because of weather. There were 2 off times. I do want to encourage everybody that it is open, the soft launch from dawn to dusk. So use it during the week. You don't have to be on an organized paddle. Please go out, use it. That's what it's for. I would like to remind them that tomorrow is our last day. It's going to be 90 degrees, so cool off on the river. Our last big thing. We're going to have a little get-together afterwards at Sharky's and plan for next year. I think it's going to be a lot bigger. Our largest group was 25, which I thought was pretty good. We started with nothing. And I'd like to thank the Rec Commission, Chairman Catcher, and Vice Chairman Bill Morrow, and of course, Trustee Malvesto. You made it happen. Thanks to you guys. And RKC sponsored, and they were our safety people. Township Manager Dale Ream, always helping. Bob Hawkins Cartage, he generously donated a truckload of shavings or something that it worked, and it was so generous of Bob. He's an island resident, and I wanted to thank everybody. Please come out. Please enjoy it. There'll be an email tonight for our last week, and it was really a success, and thank you all for the support.
Mrs. Walker, thank you. I hope to get comments on kayaking now as well as the bicycle pass, so thank you. Other Mr. Clark.
Woody Clark, Park Lane. The dump the junk is going to be the 18th and 19th. I got a hold of a Freeze Steel Company. They're going to bring us box in, and we're going to make the money up it and give it to some organization that can give some money away and get to them.
That's for scrap metal, right?
Scrap metal.
For metal. Got it.
Metal. Coming out of the Historical Museum out there on Parkway and East River Road, you come off to Parkway, you try to look to the left, it's hard to see anything coming, you got to get out, almost out into the street. Would be nice if you could cut that back a little bit. The bike, you put in a bike for bikes at the Parkway East River area.
Yeah.
They're not using it, they're throwing them on the ground still.
I used it. My wife used it.
Okay.
It's nice,
all right,
but
all right. That's good. When is the pavement going to be redone at Church Road and East River Road?
We're, as soon as the county gives the okay, we're waiting for their approval, the Wayne County Commissioners.
So you're going to give them the product, and they're going to put it down, supposedly.
That is correct.
And you're waiting for them to get off their butt?
The commission has to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the two of us, and that's what we're waiting for.
It's amazing. They knew about it 3 months ago, 4 months ago. They still can't get it going?
And there's nothing we can do to make them go any faster.
Okay. There's one other one. But we'll do it next week. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Attorney's fees. What? Attorney's fees. Attorney fees, okay, we'll do that one.
All right, Mrs. Darzak, legal fees.
All right, and the warrant list dated September 6, 2013, attorney fees to O'Reilly Ranciano in the amount of $5,104.
Now we know. Any other comments from the public present? I see none offered. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Budney. seconded by trustee Smith. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none offered. We stand adjourned at 8:57. Well, thank everyone for coming.